Thanks, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here and to see so many familiar and friendly faces. Um, I was going to entitle the presentation today "The Death of IT Projects," but I thought that'd be um, a little too shocking. But so instead, I want to frame the conversation around the idea of mission-driven solutions. And really, what I'm going to talk about today is DOJ's approach to service and solution delivery. And really, this is kind of a fundamental mind shift, if you will, in terms of the way that technologists have traditionally delivered products and services to their end users. Typically, it started off either with something already pre-baked and shoved down the throat of the business, or there was a long and iterative process that started with a white sheet of paper and never really resulted in a solution at all. So today I'm going to talk about how this approach, which is built from the base with services, and how those services combine together to constitute solutions, is the approach that we're taking at the Department of Justice. So first, I think it's important to have the context in terms of what drives the activities of the Department of Justice from a policy priority perspective. Then I'm going to talk about the scope and scale of DOJ's mission and activities. Then I'll talk about this service and solution philosophy, the security policy framework, which is critical to everything that we do, given the nature of the information and data that the Department of Justice is responsible for. Then I'll talk about some of the challenges and opportunities at the Department of Justice, as well as some of our solution orientation, and then ultimately your questions, and I'll provide some answers to the best extent I can. So the Attorney General was elected in 2010 and came into office with a very broad and ambitious policy agenda. And if you look, as we talk about some of that policy agenda, you'll see that technology and information services are critical to much of it. One of the highest priorities is really combating transnational gangs and their efforts to traffic in guns, drugs, and humans. Increasing the adoption of technology and data-driven policing in order to empower and local law enforcement, statewide law enforcement, to better achieve the ends of criminal justice. Preserving California's natural and financial resources, expanding partnerships with local law enforcement, restoring transparency and fairness to the mortgage and foreclosure system, defending the rights of consumers and improving privacy protections, and fighting privacy and crimes committed online. Throughout the presentation, I'll talk about how the Attorney General's priorities guide what we're doing from a technology perspective. In terms of the scope and scale of the Department of Justice, it's got diverse and large programs. For example, it's one of the largest law firms in the nation, representing state agencies and billing about $1 million a day. It's the statewide law enforcement and regulatory agency, regulating things from gambling all the way to travel agents. It's a provider of forensic services, which are traditional CSI type activities, all the way to cyber forensics. And it also provides training to state and local law enforcement. It's also one of the largest providers of criminal analysis, information, and identification services. In terms of the criticality of the services DOJ provides, it provides services to more than 800 law enforcement and public safety agencies across the state, and is a service and information provider to agencies across the nation. In addition, our systems are searched by more than 1.5 million times per day, and these systems are available at more than 99.999%. In terms of data, California houses the second largest criminal justice data warehouse in the United States, has a biometric system that covers more than 20 million individuals. This includes fingerprints, iris, palm prints. So you can see there's an immense amount of data, and it's really about unlocking that data to provide the services that are critical to the programs of the department. In terms of the philosophy, really it's only the mission matters. Traditionally, there's been a lot of discussion about the technology, and our view is these aren't the droids they're looking for, which is it doesn't matter what the underlying technology is. It's abstracting the technology and focusing on the capabilities of that technology. It's about platforms that connect people, data, and information, all of the information, everywhere, from any device. And it's about building services that are building blocks for solutions. So when we look at new platforms and technologies, we think about them in the first instance as how are they going to be reusable, not what is the one-off application for this solution. Everybody's aware of the growing abundance of technology, and so we think it's important to embrace this in a prudent way with a focus on not just consuming as much technology as is out there, because there's tons and tons and tons of solutions and services that could be embraced, but really doing this in a way that focuses on quality. And again, our approach is data-centric. So last night I was thinking of what are the 4 C's of data. I could only come up with 2, but if anybody has the other 2, let me know what they are. As I mentioned at the beginning, security is essential and critical to everything that we do. And so it begins with a kind of a platform agnostic view as it relates to device management. Then it's building on that with advanced authentication, encrypting data at every point in its life cycle, and finally, connectivity that is secure from end to end. In terms of the challenges we're facing, it's really remaining agile in the face of a constantly evolving policy framework and policy landscape. For example, right now we're tracking more than 20 pieces of legislation that would have a direct impact on the systems that we provide to state and local law enforcement. So it's how do we react and respond to the policy requirements of the legislature and the governor and the attorney general in a way that's timely without killing our people. It's also overcoming the broad cultural resistance to new service delivery models. So the cultural resistance to new service delivery models, I'm sure many of my vendor friends in the audience are familiar with, is something that just requires continuing to grind down. And over time, it's something that can be overcome, but it does take cycles. Also, given our focus on security, it's our constant efforts to protect against emerging threats. Over 1 million attempts are made each month against the Department of Justice to hack our systems, to deface our website, or to deny us service. Also, we're very focused on recruiting and retaining key staff. This is critically important as the economy rebounds and a generation of workers prepares to retire. So in terms of the opportunities, I'm fortunate that one of our key business partners is within the Department of Justice is here today, and he really exemplifies the idea of a connected, technology-aware user. And many technologists are afraid of business partners that understand the power of technology and are aware of the different technologies. I'd urge my colleagues that are technologists to embrace this because this makes the partnership stronger and the value of technology greater. The growing demand for solutions in the face of abundance is an opportunity. When we meet with our business stakeholders, our critical line is that technology is not a limiting factor, but that it's really, up to the business to decide what they want to do. And it's really the fact that from the Attorney General's priorities on down, there is a clear alignment of policy priorities and mission. So I want to talk about some of the things we've done in the last year to move forward. One of the key things that we've done is provide our law enforcement officers within the Department of Justice the ability to access criminal justice information from mobile devices. We've also moved forward significantly in terms of empowering end users by making the data and information that DOJ has easier to access. We've modernized the office computing environment by extending from different types of devices and making solutions available anywhere. And then finally, we've worked significantly to enhance the quality and type of data that we make available to our law enforcement customers. For example, right now we have a system that was used in a limited sense by state and local law enforcement. Since in the last 6 months, we've increased usage to over 58, from like 30 counties to 54 counties that are using the system. Excuse me. Now I want to focus on some of the key initiatives that we're working on over the next year. One of the most significant efforts is our statewide information sharing platform, which I'll get into greater detail in a minute. The next is really the work that we're doing around service transformation, and this is really modernizing the key applications within the Department of Justice to meet our mission requirements. Next is an effort we're working around called Justice Cloud, which includes access to both state and local law enforcement and leveraging cloud services provided by our private sector partners. And the next is really a number of data services that we'll be providing to state and local law enforcement. In terms of our statewide information sharing platform, it was really provoked by a number of things. So, as many of you are aware, there are a number of state law enforcement systems at DOJ, CDCR, DMV, CHP, etc. In addition, there are a number of regional law enforcement systems as well as thousands of local systems. All of these have grown up and created silos of data that really lead to data quality issues and data problems. On top of this was the Criminal Justice Realignment, AB 109, which brought into greater focus the need for local, regional, and the state to work better together. So from this opportunity, we saw that there was a need to create a platform for broader information sharing, not just focused on the realigned individuals, that we needed to leverage existing assets and investments and to make the solution as simple as fill in the blank. I'm not going to choose a particular search engine, so you can do that yourself. So the solution is really a platform that integrates data from state systems, regional systems, and local systems, and does so in a federated way. It does this by leveraging standards-based data models and providing secure web-based access and web services that hook directly into the systems that local law enforcement agencies already use. In addition, the system provides next-generation analytics and reporting to command staff and to investigators. It's really a two-phase effort. The first phase is on data enhancement, which I talked about, which is completeness, integrity, and the timeliness of data. And the second part is focusing on data access and integration. And that's really connecting all of the different systems together. Now I want to talk about the effort that we've engaged in with our Department of Justice law enforcement customers. So right now there are more than 20,000 individuals in California that illegally possess 42,000 firearms. The firearms agents within DOJ need real-time access to information in the field to ensure public and officer safety. Also, criminal justice information requires robust security. So what we did was develop a mobile optimized user interface for our application called Law Enforcement Agency Web. So this allows users to access state criminal justice information as well as DMV information. And we're continuing to refine and enhance the application based on our law enforcement and public safety agency users. We've also implemented something that we're calling Justice MDM, which is a solution to secure, monitor, manage, and support DOJ and DOJ employee-owned mobile devices that connect to our network and that access criminal justice information. We've optimized the functionality and security while minimizing cost and downtime. We've had no downtime so far in use, and we've deployed it to our Division of Law Enforcement and the SFPD. So with that, I'm open for any questions you might have. Okay.
I like the concept you abstract your technology from your business mission. It is absolutely true. Business doesn't care what kind of technology behind. They just want their solution to be right there. With regarding to the data, do you have any roadmap for data abstraction, such as you don't care where data come from? You have abstraction layer to kind of
Right, that's the data integration platform that we're using for the statewide information sharing initiative that we're working on as it relates to criminal justice information. Really, it has what you'd call a dynamic data model, so that it can connect and federate with different data sources and indexes those data sources, and it's independent of what the end database platform might be.
So speaking of the data, since you're federating the data across a number of services, how do you plan to reconcile like the data mismatch? So John Doe, Jon Doe, might be different than JOHN Doe in different systems.
Right, and so there are a number of different ways that we we'll do that. One, which is basically triangulating around other data points, because you can't necessarily. I mean, that's really how you get to the point of being able to connect that type of law enforcement data. Also, California is relatively fortunate in that we do have an identifying number for people that have been arrested, and so it's just about pulling that unique identifier through multiple systems. So even if somebody is arrested once, we have a biometric system that ties back to this unique identifier. So once somebody is arrested, printed, they're assigned what's known as the state ID number, or the state ID number is what the state's used for about the last 10 years. And so that number ties to our biometric system, which basically abstracts the whatever name somebody provides. So it really is all tied back to biometrics.
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
So, getting to the state unique ID, is there any attempt to make that at the federal level, or all the states sharing?
Well, there's a number that the FBI assigns to people who are whose criminal justice information are submitted to the FBI. So there's an FBI number that's assigned to serious criminals.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, so you've created a framework, correct?
Yep.
for this approach. Are you going to publish it so other departments can access it and maybe adopt it?
The data framework, yes, it will be published. We've actually already been working with Joe Panora and his team. They've been great collaborators with us. We've been working with DMV extensively. So the services that will be extending from the platform will be available to other users, other agencies, and the underlying data model will be a collaborative effort that is put forward by the state law enforcement and public safety agencies, because it's really a coalition of the willing that is doing this.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Is DOJ open to the open source software like Hadoop or big data?
Yes, we are using all sorts of open source products and services, but it's really analyzing the requirements of the application and the reliability and security requirements, and then determining from those requirements the best technology, and not having a specific product that's selected and then jamming that in independent of the solution.
Just as a reminder, if you don't feel like standing up for a question, we have question cards back here, so just raise your hand. No. Okay. I have actually a couple questions right here. One is, how many staff do you have, and what is your IT budget?
We have about 350 IT staff within DOJ, and then there are about that are within the IT organization, and then there are about 50 other IT people that are in IT classifications across the department. And then in terms of budget, it's sufficient. I'll say that. I don't want anybody to think it's too much or too little. But really, it's about, we deliver a lot of value for the money. That's what I focus on. And that we continually, we have customers that come to us all the time that have money of their own and they want to spend it. And so a lot of the technology investments that DOJ makes, the funding comes from the program areas because we deliver things for them. They're excited about the solutions. For example, Bureau of Firearms is one of our greatest customers. We've delivered, this Justice Mobile solution to them. We've delivered, for example, a case management solution that they can access for mobile devices where they only need to enter data once, and it then integrates and populates throughout all the systems. We're working to integrate, for example, these web services into their case management system. So it's that delivery creates appetite, if you will.
Okay, well, I have another question from an anonymous person. They say, you look much younger since you left technology agency. How did that occur?
What is it? I just got back from vacation, I think. And marriage, marriage and vacation.
What kind of regulations are you under? Because our department, we have to deal with HIPAA and the IRS and NIST and FSMA and tons and tons.
Yeah. So
how do you handle your compliance?
We have our information security framework begins with the FBI's CJIS security policy, which is based on the NIST standard, which really guides the standards for the IRS and the other federal agencies, FSMA 2.0, whatever you want to call it, FedRAMP. And then we also have systems that are subject to HIPAA. So, for example, we have a system that has mental health data, and we use that data to determine whether somebody should be able to purchase a firearm. We also have a system, our Controlled Substances Review and Evaluation System, CURES. It's a system that captures all of the prescription drug data for all DEA Schedule 1 through 4 drugs. And the prescriber who those drugs are prescribed to and which pharmacy dispenses those. So we're under a lot of security and information security practices and policies and regulations, and we're fortunate in that for so long we've had to secure our systems to the FBI standard that FISMA and HIPAA and whatever other regulations we come across are relatively straightforward.
Okay, well, I have a couple more questions over here. One is, what other future IT initiatives do you have?
We have one of the big efforts underway right now, which is it's a business technology kind of productivity initiative, is a unified communications as a service that's out on the street right now, and we're looking for creative solutions and partners on that. And another is an effort that we have underway around facial identification and biometrics. So that's really the next generation biometrics solutions.
Hey, Adrian, this is Greg. Got a couple of questions. One is, can you describe your information architecture team because of the complexity of all the different systems you have?
So we have basically three key parts of the information architecture team. One which focuses on those applications and services that are departmental in nature, which is I'd say, capital E enterprise applications, and those include things like our HR systems, systems around training, systems around benefits, those types of things. And that's a really significant effort that we're working on. We haven't completed all of that kind of data architecture yet, but that's underway. The second piece is around criminal intelligence and investigative type of information, and that's a group that is called our SINS team. That some of you are maybe familiar with that group, and that's a group of lots of programmers and information architects that have experience both in the database side as well as in the application development area. And then in our criminal justice applications, those are the applications that are accessed by state and local law enforcement and includes our biometric services. We have a team of people that focuses just almost entirely on all of the data integration pieces. It's our CLETS CGIS control group.
So the second question is around employee retention because of the in-depth knowledge that is required to run these systems and understand these systems. A lot of subject matter expertise within IT. How are you creating that culture and that environment to retain people, motivate them, and share the information with the team so they get some kind of rotational benefit out of that?
Well, I think the two things, which is the importance of the mission and the vision laid out by the Attorney General, is really compelling to, if you're going to be in public service, there isn't a better place to work, I'd say, because of the diversity of opportunity and the diversity of mission and the extensive focus on technology to really drive change and benefit from a public safety perspective. The other is guilt. No, it's we try to engage employees and provide training, and I mean, we really try to advocate for our employees all along the way. And I think and understand their issues and understand the flexibility that they need in their lives, and so that there's a balance. It's, finding that balance is very difficult, both as an employee and an employer or a leader or a manager, but we try to find that right balance, and it's an evolving process, but that's something that the senior management team that I work with and I are constantly focused on.
Okay. Well, actually, that will lead me perfectly into my next question. Who is on your executive team?
Okay, so within the Bureau of the Hawkins Data Center Bureau within DOJ, there are basically myself and then Joe Dominic, who is responsible for the applications within DOJ, and Amy Peters, who is responsible for all of the infrastructure components within DOJ. Good to see you.
Oh, Anne, actually, let me give you the.
Do you have any GIS-related projects that DOJ is working on right now?
We do. We've been a big user of geospatial technologies, mapping technologies for a long time, and we're extending those applications across the enterprise and integrating those capabilities into each of our applications. And so we view geospatial information as another type of data that we can integrate as a service. So, for example, we have an on-premise ArcGIS service that we integrate and have extended out, for example, the CalGang application. Many of you might be familiar with that. So we've integrated our internal system and extended it as a web service to that. We're also leveraging, for example, Google Street View within some of the applications that we're running, and using those APIs that Google provides, which are external services delivered into our law enforcement apps. So, for example, when a law enforcement agent is planning a mission, they can go to use the Google Street View to get it's not just the quality that the average consumer views, but it's basically 2048 by 2048 pixels of the site that they're going to go and visit, and they can more effectively plan their mission by having visibility into what the surrounding area looks like and that type of thing.
That brought up a question. Is there any sort of audit logging or concerns because they're planning a mission, now that information is out there that could be used by the wrong people?
It's abstracted in terms of what system the data goes to, and we keep track of every single application that every single user of our systems accesses, and we keep it for 3 years. The FBI only requires 1 year. We capture all of the inquiries that people make into our systems and all of the results and everything that every user does when they touch our systems.
Thank you.
Another question over here.
About your Justice Mobile or Justice MDM,
Yes.
whose technology did you leverage? And just curious, besides Droid and iOS, did you find any other platforms that users brought in?
We've had so our Justice Mobile solution combines products from Cisco and from Citrix to deliver the platform. So and then we use SafeNet for the two-factor authentication. So VPN, which is done through Cisco AnyConnect, and then we use the Citrix Zen Mobile. And on top of that, we have the SafeNet piece. And then in terms of devices, in terms of DOJ-provided devices, we support BlackBerry, Android, and iOS. And then in terms of other devices that people have brought in beyond those, we have some who have brought in Windows Phone devices. We had some people that had Palm devices, but we don't support those.
Okay. I have another question back here that just came in. Can you talk about the Attorney General's efforts on privacy?
The Attorney General has focused on privacy extensively since she was first elected. First, I think many of you are aware that the Office of Privacy Protection went away. The Attorney General reconstituted that office within the Department of Justice within our e-crimes area and really added the component of prosecuting from a civil perspective those individuals and organizations that sought to undermine the privacy rights of Californians. Privacy is a fundamental right in California, and the Attorney General, both from a prosecutorial perspective as well as from the bully pulpit, has focused on the importance of privacy.
Do you have any more questions? More down here.
Thanks, Adrian, for coming. I think we all appreciate you being here. Does the AG have any official policy or stance on drone technology, and is DOJ evaluating any drone technology currently?
I'm not aware of any specific policy position on drone technology, and we are not evaluating any drone technology currently, no. Thank you for the question, however.
All right. Does anybody else have any more questions? If not, I have one that I will close out with. Okay. Well, the last one is, what advice do you have for other CEOs or CIOs? Sorry.
I would say that really whenever you come into a new organization, it's best to start off by listening and really spending the time to understand the business. The technology, as I've said for a long time, is the easy part, and understanding the complexities, the intricacies, the requirements of the business and program areas is the most important. So embrace the business. Thanks.
Thank you.